Welcome to this class. So today we are going to look at organization function or organizing function. Last week we had introduced it and we said that organizing is a critical function when it comes to the issue of management. And normally organizing is the second function of management. And why do we need to have organizing as part and parcel of what we do in organizations? This is because most of the time organizations need to use resources, and to use resources, you need to start looking for those resources. And how you capitalize on those resources is very, very critical. Remember, when we talk about resources, resources are limited in any organization. And with this limitation in organization resources, then it's very, very important for the organization to be able to prioritize their resources depending on the area that they want to achieve their best. Organizing includes developing structures for people, positions, departments, and activities within the firm. So it means that in order for structures to be effective in any organization, you need to have people who are going to fill those positions in that structure. And the structure basically shows a hierarchy of what needs to be achieved, and basically who is supposed to report to who and at what time. So when we have that structure in place, then it calls for the organization to be able to allocate structures or to allocate activities depending on what you're supposed to do and depending on the area of expertise. And that is why it calls for departments. Most of organizations have been organized in way of departments, and that is very, very critical for the organization. So managers can arrange the structure elements of the firm to maximize the flow of information and the efficiency of the work process. So you need to look at how information is going to flow within the organization. And the focus here is to be able to use this information to increase the efficiency of the organization and what is expected of you as an employee of that particular organization. Then we're also looking at the work processes. You also need to look at the work processes and how you are going to incorporate those processes into your day-to-day activities. So they accomplish this by doing the following. Number one, dividing up tasks. And that is why we are calling for division of labor. So that when you come into the organization, you know exactly what you're supposed to do and at what time you're supposed to do. Then it also calls for grouping jobs and employees. And this is what is called departmentalization, where you already know your department. And that is why you might find most organizations are organized in departments, where we have, let's say, marketing department, we have other departments that play a very critical role. Then we're also looking at assigning authority and responsibility. So once you have the department, it is very important to be able to delegate or to assign authority. This will help in ensuring that you are able to achieve those tasks that you're supposed to do in the best time possible. So delegation is very important, and delegation calls for responsibility, so that when you are given a task, it is important for you to be able to accomplish that task successfully. So what is the importance of organization? What is the importance of organization? The first importance is that it creates what is called transparency and clarity, brought about by authority and responsibility. Because you already know what you're supposed to do, and you already know the hierarchy and the job description, you automatically will be in a position to work in the best of your ability. And this will enhance what is called transparency, so that you are able to share the information that you are supposed to share, courtesy of the position that you hold and the job description. So basically, when we talk about organization, we are looking at the clarity in terms of what you're supposed to do and the authority that you're supposed to report to. Then through organization, it can be easy for an organization to grow and expand. Remember, you are talking about delegation, and delegation is all about trying to establish how you are going to give authority and responsibility to different types of people. By virtue of doing that, then it means at the end of the day, you will be able to grow as an individual, you'll be able to grow as a department. Therefore, the only thing that can help you grow is organization. And this calls for the division of labor and work, thereby utilizing resources. Then role overlap, duplication, confusion, and delays are minimized. So at the end of the day, there is a possibility that we are going to minimize duplication of responsibility. This is because from the word go, you already know what is expected of you. You already know what you're supposed to do. And in any case, in the event there are overlapping functions or responsibilities, you can easily be in a position to note that, and therefore it will force you not to duplicate those activities. So organizing, therefore, will help you reduce cases where you find that we have overlapping responsibilities because of the job description that each and every member of the organization needs to have. Division of work in departments and functions brought about by formulation of organization structure allows specialization. So you can easily specialize the different activities. Specialization is all about being an expert in a particular area because of your experience, because of maybe the knowledge that you have. Then the organization is structured in a way that they can easily develop your area of specialization. Therefore, it means that at the end of it all, you become specialized in a particular area. Therefore, you automatically become an expert in that area. So another importance is that due to specialization, effective administration is achieved as job positions are defined and clarity on what each manager is to perform. So what we can say there is that there is a lot of clarity because every manager knows what he or she is supposed to do. Therefore, this will lead to better performance and it will also lead to better administration of activities within the organization. So organizations make it easier for departments to coordinate as well as to coordinate different responsibilities within the organization. So organization will help you to have a better way of coordinating different activities within the organization. This therefore leads to better ways of performing and better ways of trying to establish what you're supposed to do and at what time. Hope I'm clear. Hope you can hear me. Confirm.
Yes, we
Yes, we can, Mwalimu.
Okay.
We can hear you.
The other thing we are going to look at today is organization structure and design. So most of the time you hear people talk about the structure of a particular organization, and different organizations have different structures depending on the area that you are in. So this means that at the end of it all, you can come up with a structure that is going to fit your organization, so the activities that you do. What is organization structure? Organization structure is a system of accomplishing and connecting activities that occur within a work organization. So what normally happens in organization is that at the end of it all, you're supposed to organize different activities so that when you come up with those activities, it becomes easier for you to be able to connect with different activities. And the only way you can do that is by understanding your structure so that you avoid cases of duplication of activities within the structure. Another thing about a structure is that it is going to ensure that you are going to perform a particular task. within the organization. Look at a company like Safaricom. When you look at the structure of Safaricom, you realize that that structure is a clear structure. So that we have the chairman at the top. Then below the chairman, we have the members of the board. Then we have the CEO. Then it goes up to the subordinates down here. So that structure is a very clear structure, and it helps to connect different activities so that when you're in a particular functional level, you know exactly what you're supposed to do. For example, if you're in marketing, there are roles that you're supposed to do. Therefore, they connect all these roles together so that you perform better. People rely on structures to know what work they should do. So structures play a very critical role in ensuring that you exactly know what you're supposed to do. This calls for, hope you can still hear me. I want to remove the earphones. They're making me uncomfortable.
We can hear you.
Okay. So as I was saying, you can have a structure in place, but if you don't have people in that structure, then that structure is like a dead structure, because people are the ones who are going to ensure that you succeed when you want to implement that structure. So people rely on structures to know what they are supposed to do, how their work supports or relies on other employees, and how this activity fulfills the purpose of the organization itself. So you already know what you're supposed to do and how you are going to support the others in that particular structure. Remember, you are not alone in that structure. We have other departments within that larger structure. So organization design is the process of setting up organization structure to address the needs of the organization and account for the complexity involved in accomplishing business objectives. So at the end of the day, once you have the structure in place, you need to organize that structure or to set up that structure. And the best way to do that is to come up with what is called an organizational design, because it is going to help you to understand the complexity of that particular structure. We have structures that are very big. For example, when you talk about multinationals, you realize that multinationals are companies that cut across different countries. So if you're a multinational, it means that you need to organize your structure in a way that it is going to accomplish your vision as a company. Look at a company like Coca-Cola, for example. Coca-Cola is literally in every country. And when you look at their activities, you realize that they have been able to organize themselves well, and that is why it is still shining in the global arena. And one of the reasons as to why this is possible is because of the organizational design that they have. And this will help the organization to accomplish their objective. So what are some of the common organizational designs that you can have within the organization? The first one is the traditional organizational design. These are designs that include the simple structure, the functional structure, and the divisional structure. So let us look at the first structure, which is the simple structure. When we talk about the simple structure, this is normally for small businesses which are starting. For example, if today God blesses you and you start your own company, then we can automatically say that you can come up with a structure that is going to help you to ensure that you organize yourself well. And this structure can be a simple structure. And this is very common for new companies that are coming up, the startups. And why is it critical for startups? Because of the span of control, which is lower. Because maybe you have the owner of the company and some few employees who support that business. So the span of control is wide with low departmentalization. So you realize that you have a wider span of control, but you might not have a formalized way of authority, because maybe you have a single person who is the owner and many people are reporting to the owner. So the span of control is wide with low departmentalization. Formalization is low and authority is central to a single person. who is mostly the owner, who is also the manager. So you might find that you are the owner and many people are reporting to you, so that level of authority is lower and the departments are also lower. You find that we have little departments within the bigger or the small organization that has just started. Then the second one is called divisional structure. This is different where we have a lot of freedom or limited freedom. Divisional structure will call for the organization to organize different divisions within the particular company, so that we have a big company that has different divisions. So we might have division A, we might have division B, division C. So this is different divisions or units which have limited freedom, and each division has a manager. So you can have division 1, which has a manager there, and maybe people who are doing the operation. You might have another division B that also has another manager. And all these managers might report to one big manager. So divisional structures are also very common in medium level organizations, so that you organize your activities in different divisions. For example, we can have a manufacturing division, we can have an operational division or a marketing division like that, and they perform certain tasks. So having talked about that, we need to understand departmentalization. So one of the common types of departmentalization is the functional departmentalization. What do we mean when we talk about functional departmentalization? So these groups by the various functional performed, which reflect purposes and the work of the organization. So you are looking at the functional areas within the organization, so that if you are in marketing, then you are organized in marketing department. And this organization basically looks at the activities that you are doing in that particular organization. For example, when you look at that diagram there, you understand that this organization, these departments have been organized depending on what they do. For example, you are in production, that means your main focus is to try to bring new products to the market, so that once you have the new products, then we have the marketing department, which will be responsible for ensuring that this product reaches the market. We also have the finance department there, and the main focus of finance department is to ensure that every other department has the money that is required to perform effectively within the organization. Then we are also having human resource department. So the work of human resource is to ensure that they hire the right people who are going to do the job within the organization. So when you look at that structure, you realize that mostly they are looking at what you are going to do in a particular organization. Therefore, all these activities are organized in a way that will help in achieving that. Then we have another one, which is the product departmentalization. This is mostly common when you are producing, and maybe when you are in a manufacturing kind of setting, where the key responsibility is to ensure that you come up with a product in the market. For example, look at that diagram there. You understand that we have a product, and we have the product division A, we have product division B, and we have product division A. So all these divisions, their main focus is to be able to come up with a product. So the work of division A, so the work of division A So for example, we have product A here. So when you look at product A, we have different departments or rather divisions within the product, where we have product A division, we have product B division, and we have product C division. So product A division and product C division are supporting the product B. And remember, product B goes ahead to have another production department here. We have engineering and we have design and research. So basically, the main focus is to be able to come up with different products within the organization. So here we are looking at the different product lines that might exist within an organization. An example I can use maybe Bidco Africa. So Bidco Africa is in the business of producing a cooking oil, producing detergents, and many other product lines. So Bidco could be having different products, and in their main focus is to come up with a product or products for that matter. So they could be having different divisions. Maybe division A is responsible for coming up with the oil. So this could be oil. Maybe this is division B. Their main focus is to come up with the design and engineering. Then maybe these ones are coming up with the detergents. So they have to coordinate with each other in order to succeed in producing the product that is up there. Then the other one is geographical departmentalization. As the name suggests, this is where you organize your structure in different divisions. For example, you can be having a company that cuts across Africa so that you can organize your company in a way. We have, let's say, the Northern Division, we have the Southern Division, and the Pacific Division. I also want to use an example here. Look at a company like Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola. So when you look at Coca-Cola in Kenya, for example, Kenya, so you can see that Coca-Cola in Kenya, we have Coca-Cola in Nairobi. Which other part do we have Coca-Cola? Coca-Cola, I think in Meru. You have Meru.
Nyeri.
We have Nyeri. We have coastal region. We have coast. And we could be having Kisumu. Yes, Kisumu. We have Kisumu. So when you look at that organization, the company can decide to organize these branches into different geographical locations. Maybe Nairobi and coast can be the eastern region. So this could be the eastern region, and the other ones could be the western region. So they are organizing themselves in different geographical locations. So that once you look at the eastern, you automatically know that this company or this branch is in the eastern region. So the main focus is to try to establish a unified way of locating their branches so that when they are doing the analysis or when they are doing their reporting, they can be able to know what happens in that particular area, how are they performing, and many other aspects that can assist the organization to achieve its objectives. Then we can also look at process departmentalization. And this is where you organize your This is where we are looking at the process. What are you doing in your organization? What are you focusing on in terms of ensuring that customers are satisfied? So here, mostly we are looking at the flow of product and how you're going to process that product. And they have given there an example where we are talking about beauty salon. I've separated the employees from shampooing, coloring, cutting hair, all different processes for having one hair styled. So here you are looking at a product. And you are looking at the processes that will enable this product to become, or that will enable the product to be produced. For example, when you look at the hair industry or the beauty salon industry, where they are trying to establish the human hair for ladies, before they come up with the human hair, we have different processes that will help the organization to be able to achieve all this. So they can look at the product and they look at the process that will help them to achieve all this. So we have the customer here, and this department is focusing more on the customer. For example, we have the MD here, we have the ladies banking, we have the corporate banking here, we have the school banking, we have the agricultural banking, and what have you. Then we are looking at the second one, which is now focusing more on different products and the processes that they are going to look at. For example, we have division product X. When you look at division product X, it is independent, where we have a research and developing department, we have a marketing department, and we have a finance department. So they are independent in their process, so that when they are coming up with the product X, they have to follow a particular process so that this product will be produced to the customer. Then we have product Y, we have product Z. I want to use an example of Brookside. Brookside. So Brookside is a company that produces milk. And when you look at Brookside, you realize they produce different products of milk. They produce fresh milk. They produce long life milk, long life. They can also produce, let's say, yogurt. They can also have this other one called ghee. So these are examples of different products. When you look at the production process of fresh milk, it is totally different from the production of yogurt, which is also different from the production of ghee. So what Brookside can do, they can organize their production in a way that they have different areas of producing the fresh milk and the long life, the yogurt and the ghee. So that when they are producing the milk, they already have a whole department that will be responsible for ensuring that this product is going to be marketed. They'll be responsible for ensuring that they do research and development, where they go to the customers, try to get feedback, and this feedback is going to help them to ensure that they retain their customers. And also they could be having a unit in finance that will support that agenda of producing fresh milk in the market. Then division Y could be the production of yogurt. So their main focus is to ensure that they produce the yogurt to the market. So they will be responsible for ensuring that they participate in an end-to-end kind of production, where they know where they are going to get their raw materials from. They know exactly their suppliers. They know their logistics channel. They know their customers, so that they will organize themselves in a way that they work independently to ensure that they come up with product Y in the market. Then we have division Z, which could be producing ghee, and they will still have their same structure that will assist them to perform better. Then we are going to look at cross-functional teams. When we talk about cross-functional teams, we are talking about different people from different departments that are selected, and they come together to perform some activities together so that they will be able to understand or to learn from each other, and this will help the organization to grow. And this is common when you are dealing with different organizations, be it in manufacturing, be it in retail industry, be it in aviation. Most of the time, you might find yourself that you are a part of a particular team within the organization, so that you are given a specific task that you need to achieve. So cross-functional teams are teams that will help you to understand what exactly do we need to achieve as an organization, and what is our focus at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, you need to do some checks and balances to ensure that you succeed in what you're supposed to do. So the second model, remember we talked about the traditional structures. Now we want to look at the mechanical model that an organization can be able to achieve or to implement within the organization. So the second one is the mechanistic model or the organic model of the organization. This model is also called the bureaucracy model, which normally is characterized by rigidity, and the structure is tight and controlled. And this is very common when you are dealing with large organizations, where we have a lot of bureaucracy. Before something can be approved, they take a lot of time. This mechanistic structure is common in government institutions, where when you look at their processes, you understand that their processes is very complex, and you might end up not achieving what you want to achieve. For example, when you are dealing with procurement of goods, you might end up waiting for something even for 6 months or even 1 year because of the bureaucracy. We're supposed to do what. And this system, most of the time, is really controlled, and it might affect the performance of the organization. It makes use of 6 elements of organizational structure, that is centralization, high formalization, a tall structure. The span of control will also be ambiguous, clear chain of command, high specialization, and rigid departmentalization. So you might find yourself in a fix where you have to wait for the process to take cover or to take place. So organic organization allows change in the organization due to its loose structure. So sometimes you might want to implement change, and it becomes difficult because of the nature of the bureaucracy within that particular organization design or structure. Then we have the contemporary organization design. Contemporary organizational design. So when you look at contemporary organization design, we have different designs that can be implemented within the organization. And most of these designs are flexible in nature, in that they allow change to take place. In the event you want to maybe change what you do, you can easily use these structures to change. So traditional structures are rigid and are a challenge to changes, yet the business environment have become increasingly dynamic and flexible. So the only design that can help you is the contemporary design. And one of the designs that we are talking about is the team structure. The team structure. So the team structure focuses on teams where people need to work in teams so that they can be able to achieve a certain goal within the organization. So team structure is a very common type of structure, and most organizations that are really doing well have been able to embrace the team structure. What normally happens is that employees are normally encouraged to work in teams so that they can easily achieve their goals within the organization. And remember, there is a saying that goes, together, everyone achieves more. So it means that when you are working in teams, you're most likely to achieve more as an organization. Together, everyone achieves more. So you need to encourage team members to work together towards achieving the organizational goal. So when you work as a team, then you become an expert in a particular area and you increase in your knowledge and your skills. And this will go a long way to increase your performance within the organization. The second structure is called the matrix and the project structure. When you look at the matrix structure, this is a structure that combines two different kind of structures, where it combines the functional structure and it combines the project structure. And this is very common when you're dealing with the project most of the time. Remember, sometimes when you're doing a project as an organization, what normally happens is that you need to have a project manager who is going to manage that project. And most of the time, remember, when we talk about projects normally have a definite timeline. You might be having a project that is going to take 6 months. And once the project is over, then the project team might be dissolved. So what normally happens is that we have different functional areas within the organization, and they will call for a project manager who is going to look at the project and how the project is going to be implemented. So the matrix structure allows the organization to be able to combine two different kind of structure, where we have the functional structure and we have the project structure. For example, let's assume organization A wants to install a faster internet, So we have the functional structures here. So let's assume this is functions. So this is another function here. And we have the nini here. So you'll find that, so this is function A, or functional manager A. You have functional manager B here. And we have functional manager C. So the project manager will come here. So we have project manager A. So the project manager will cut across the different functional areas within the organization. Remember, the intention of that organization is to install internet. So they are installing internet for the whole organization. However, we have a project manager who is responsible for ensuring the implementation takes place. So the work of the project manager is to ensure successful installation of internet to different departments. That is Department A, Department B, Department C. So the matrix structure will allow that to take place, in that the project manager will be responsible for ensuring the project success, and he will be reporting most of the time the progress of the project to different functional managers. So that if you are a team member here, let's assume you are a team member here, and you are part of the installation. So most of the time you might find yourself reporting to two managers. So you'll be reporting to the manager here, and you'll also be reporting to the project manager on the other hand. So this is one of the critical structures that normally is used when implementing projects. Then we have the virtual organization. The virtual organization normally happens in an area where we have a lot of technology taking place and technology transformation. And this organization or this structure allows the organization to be able to work virtually courtesy of technology, so that you don't need to be physically available. You can easily organize meetings and you can deliberate on the issues that you need to achieve at the end of the day. Then we have the network structure. It is a small core organization that outsources major business functions. So the work of these network organization is to be able to build networks within and without the organization, so that their main focus is to ensure that they bring different activities from different stakeholders into the organization, so that at the end of the day, they can create something like a network that will assist them to achieve what they need to achieve. This approach allows organizations to concentrate on what they do best and to contract out other activities to companies that specialize in those activities. So when you look at activities within the organization, you will understand that organizations have two different activities that they do. So the first activity that an organization will do is the core activity, the core activities. So these activities are activities that are critical to the success of that company. For example, a company like Equity Bank, their core activity is banking. So banking. So the work of Equity is to bank. So that is their core activities. So they must ensure that they focus more on banking activities. For example, they can focus on deposits. They can focus on withdrawals and customer retention. Then we have a second category of activities that is non-core activities. Non-core activities. Activities. So these are activities that really are not critical to the organization. Therefore, the organization will be forced to look for third parties or to outsource, in simple terms, outsource. So the organization will work with third parties to ensure that these activities are done in the organization. So outsourcing, they can outsource non-key activities. For example, when you look at things like security functions, they can decide to look for a third party who is going to assist in security activities, or housekeeping activities, where they will still hire people who will come to do the housekeeping activities, so that the other employees will concentrate on ensuring that they win customers over and succeed in the organization. So before we look at the organizational principles, any question? Any question? Angelina Naituro?
No question.
No question. Anne? Anne?
No question.
No question.
Okay, Bishop mwenyewe, Bishop.
Yes, sir. No question for now.
Okay, allow me to look at the organization principles. What is a principle according to your own understanding? What is a principle? Yes, we have Joroge, G Joroge.
I would say it's like the primary reason that you of something or why something is being done.
The primary reason of why something is being done. Lucy?
Principles are like guidelines, the guidelines that assist the organization to achieve their mandates.
Principles are guidelines that assist organizations to achieve their goals. Lastly, we have Pius, Onetwe.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
I'm just following up on that.
Your background has noise, just unmute. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
So, organizational principles. Principles, as you all know, they are like philosophies or guides that you need to implement or to know as a student or as a manager or as future leaders that will help you to ensure that you perform different tasks successfully. So the first principle of organization is the principle known as specialization. Today, all of you are specialized in different areas. You might find yourself specialized in marketing, you're specialized in supply chain, others are specialized in human resource. So specialization is the degree to which people are organized into subunits according to their area of expertise. And that is why most of the time you realize that for you to become a good human resource manager, you need to go back to school, get the qualifications that are needed so that in future, once you get the experience, you automatically become specialized in that particular area. If today you wanted to be a finance officer, you need to go do CPAs so that you practice, become a practitioner, and you get a license, then you become an expert in that particular area. So specialization will allow people to be organized in different subunits that now makes them become experts in that particular area. Then the second principle that is critical is the principle known as command and control. So when you look at command, you understand from the word command, it means that you need to report or you need to give directions. And the other issue is control. So control is all about looking at your resources and trying to come up with control mechanisms that will help you to be able to maximize on what you have in terms of resources. And remember, when you talk about resources, resources are limited in organizations. And if you're not careful, and if you don't control these resources, some employees might end up pilfering those resources. And when you realize it will be too late, you'll find that you don't have resources. For example, if you give employees an opportunity today, every day they will be taking some small inventory within the organization, and you might end up losing everything. And that is why I like using the example of Nakumat. You remember Nakumat? Nakumat. Sometimes Nakumat, we had Nakumat. We had Uchumi, the likes of Uchumi. One of the reasons that led to these companies failing is the issue of control. So if you don't control your resources, it means that other people might take advantage of that. And that is why when you look at the government today, you realize that the government is talking about pending bills most of the time. And sometimes when you look at that, you realize that these pending bills have been there for quite some time, from way back. And you might find a supplier who supplied for the last 5 years. The supplier has not been paid because of issues to do with control. So it is very important for you as managers, for you as future leaders, to be able to apply the principle of command and control, so that if you are in position, you need to at least oversight what others are doing. And in the event, they also need to give you reports that will help establish or justify their actions within the organization. So command and control refers to the way in which people report to one another or connect or to coordinate their efforts in accomplishing the work of the organization. So you need to at least command people to be able to do. Remember theory X and theory Y, where some group of people under theory X, they don't like work, they must be forced to work. But the others in theory Y, they are the ones who really are self-driven and they know what they need, exactly what they need. So sometimes you get different characters of people within the organization, so that as a manager, you need at least to make sure that they have to work. Failure to do that, I'm telling you, they'll be coming to work to take tea and make stories, work in each office, trying to get rumors and things like that, and they might end up not working or achieving the objectives that they're supposed to achieve. The other principle that is critical is the principle of span of control. So when we talk about span of control, what comes into our mind is the number of employees a manager can effectively and efficiently manage. So when you look at the span of control, for example, the CEO has a bigger span of control. Let's assume this is the CEO. So we have different departments here. So we have department there, we have another department here. We have a third department here. So maybe we have another department here. So this is department, another one here. And let's assume we have one here. So we have another there. So we have this one that goes directly like that. Then the other one here. Then we have this one, maybe one person and maybe two, like that. So this is just an example I'm using. So we have the CEO there, we have marketing department here, we have technical department here, and we have maybe operation department. So marketing manager, we have assistant, and we have maybe officer on the other hand. So when you look at the span of control of the CEO, will be all these people who are below the CEO. So the CEO has how many people reporting to the CEO? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So the CEO, the span of control of the CEO is all these employees who are there. The span of control for the marketing manager is 1, 2, 3, 4. So the people that are supposed to report to a particular manager, then we can say that is the span of control. Then, what are some of the factors that affect the span of control? The first factor is the manager's ability, managerial ability. Remember, for you to become a manager, you must have the capacity. You must show that indeed you have that capacity of becoming a manager. So the capacity normally might arise as a result of the experience that you have, as a result of the qualifications that you have, and this will now make you to become a good manager. You must also have the abilities to maybe have emotional intelligence and things like that. So capability is all about the ability of that manager to ensure that he can really mobilize and organize different functions. Qualifications is all about the papers that you have, so that as a manager, sometimes you are required to read a lot. And by reading, it means that the more you read, the more you expand your abilities, and the more you know what happens, what you're supposed to do. Things are changing, knowledge is changing. So you need to be there and try to establish what is this that I need to do to improve myself? What is this that I need to do to improve my people? So you'll keep on exploring knowledge in different quarters. Then the second factor is competence of subordinates. So sometimes you might be a good manager, but your subordinates do not have the capability. So it might affect your performance as a manager. So competencies is very, very important. So your subordinates must show their ability. They must be able to showcase their understanding so that at the end of the day, it becomes better for you and easier for you to be able to control them and to be able to organize yourself. Then the nature of work that you do. So the nature of work will require that a manager needs to understand whether this is a one thing, it is a repetitive work, or it requires a lot of skills. So as a manager, you need to understand what is this that these people are supposed to do, and how then am I going to organize them to ensure that they achieve that work. Then the delegation of authority. This is where you are looking at how best you are going to delegate responsibilities to your lower cadre of employees. So delegation of authority will affect the span of control. So that as a manager, it is always important for you to delegate some of these responsibilities. Don't be a jack of all trades, because it will affect you. It will affect your mental health. Remember, dealing with people sometimes is difficult. So don't be burdening yourself with all these responsibility. You want people to see that indeed you are stamping authority. Sometimes you get tired. So you also need to at least delegate some of these responsibilities. Then the degree of decentralization. When we talk about decentralization, we are talking about giving other people the autonomy to make decisions, so that don't be a one-man show kind of leadership where the decisions have to come from you. In the event you find somebody has made a decision, you want to ask that person who told you to make that decision. Who are you in this organization? So some of these things are very demoralizing. So you need to look at the degree of decentralization, so that you give other people the autonomy to make decisions, so that it will also affect you and your span of control. But that does not mean that they are going to take the power from you. I think that is normally the challenge with some of these managers. They think when they give people the responsibility or they delegate, the power is going to be taken from them. That is a very bad notion of that. The other principle that is very critical is the principle of scalar chain. Principle of scalar chain. This implies that authority should flow from top to bottom, and this will help in terms of communication. So scalar Okay, Sabir is asking delegation of authority. Delegation of authority. So when we talk about delegation, it means that we are talking about responsibility. For example, Shabir, assume you are the manager today and you have your juniors who are reporting to you. So delegation will ensure you as the manager, you can transfer responsibilities to another party or to your juniors, but you still monitor what they are doing. So that once they finish that task, they can report to you, and it goes like that. So delegation is all about trying to transfer responsibility to your juniors so that they can do the work and you monitor what they are doing. And obviously you can also give them direction and try to correct them when you feel they're not doing what they were supposed to do, or they really did not understand exactly what you meant they were supposed to do. Hope I've answered you. Shabir? Okay. So the other principle is the principle of scalar chain. Remember, we are talking about communication, and communication needs to go upwards. So let's assume this is the level of management. So this is the top level, also referred to as the... Hello, you are kindly mute. Thank you. So we are saying we have different levels of management. We have the strategic level of management. So this is the strategic level. The strategic level. So strategic. So this is the business level. Business. And we have the operational level, also referred to as the first line level, operational. So when you talk about communication, communication needs to move from top to bottom. So this is the top to bottom. Then we also need to get feedback. Feedback will be moving from bottom to top. And remember, feedback is very important. Feedback, very important. So as a manager, you are looking at this principle of scalar chain, and authority and communication should come from the top, communicated downwards. And once the communication is implemented, then you need to get feedback that moves from down going up. The other principle that is critical is the principle of unity of command. Principle of unity of command. So this principle implies that each subordinate should be accountable and receive commands from one superior at one given time. So this is a very critical principle. Sometimes you might find that we have different managers are fighting each other, and every manager wants to show superiority. So you might find yourself in that kind of war, but it is always important that one subordinate must be accountable to one superior person, so that we have that chain of command or unity of command. Very, very important. Then we have the other principle, which is the principle of centralization. This implies that resources authority to make decision is concentrated on a few individuals. Look at the example of this structure. When you look at the structure, you realize that the structure is narrow on top. So it means that as you go up the hierarchy, then we have centralization of power, so that few people will be able to make critical decisions in the organization. So it's very, very important to understand the centralization principle. Imagine if everyone was given the autonomy to make critical decisions within the organization. We could have a lot of confusions, and it will take a very long time in making decisions. For example, you might find one person has made a decision. Then when it goes to the other person, you find that he might assume your decision and make another decision. So that is very bad. And this is normally critical when you will be doing, maybe when you go and do your thesis at master's level or at PhD level, you might find a scenario where you have 2 supervisors or even 3 supervisors. And if those supervisors are not coordinating, you might find that the other supervisor will be assuming that he knows better than the other one. So they will be fighting like that. And the people who are going to suffer are the students. And this is very common in those people who are in these universities, like the KU, Kenyatta University. I have a friend of mine who has been there for 5 years. We are doing masters for 5 years. And the minimum is 3 years, at least 3 years. So you find that these supervisors are really fighting. One wants to anataka kuambia ule mwingine ati ajui kitu anafanya, unajua. So kila mtu anaona yeye ni msomi, you know. It's always good sometimes to ensure that you apply the centralization principle. Hope kuna mtu ako KU hapa. Pole kama nimeguza university yako. Then we have formalization, a tightly structured system in which all the jobs, responsibilities, and accountability structures are very clearly understood. So when we talk about formalization, we are talking about a clear framework that knows what exactly you're supposed to do. So that when you formalize these things, you already know what you're supposed to do, what is your responsibility. It is very clear, people are accountable, and people clearly understand what they need to do in the organization. Let us look at the organizational process. But before we look at the organizational process, let's have a commercial break of 5 minutes. Then we come back. Wakukunywa maji akunywe, wakukunywa soda akunywe. So 5 minutes, 7:20, we will be back. So organizing or organization process. So when you talk about a process, this is a series of activities or steps that you need to follow when you want to organize different resources, organize different activities within the organization. So this process begins by identifying the work to be done for a particular objective to be achieved. So first and foremost, you need to be able or to be in a position to understand what needs to be done within the organization. This will go a long way for you to be able to understand the objective. Because once you identify what you need to do, then you can easily develop objectives that you need to achieve at the end of the day. This therefore will call for division of work, so that once you divide the work, you can assign individuals to particular job or to particular work that they need to achieve. And most importantly, the main focus is to be able to achieve the goals of that particular organization. So lastly, organizing involves those tasks that are arranged in decision-making framework. So you need to organize your activities in a way that will assist you to be able to make decisions within the organization. Decisions that will go a long way to ensure that you allocate the resources where they are really needed and where you can easily achieve your goals. So when you look at the organizational process, the first step normally is the creation of job design. So you need to come up with a job design that will help you to be able to accomplish those activities. So you must come up with plans and objectives, and these objectives must be reviewed more often than not, so that when you develop those job designs, you really develop something that will help you a long way to be able to achieve what you want to achieve. So plans and objectives are reviewed, tasks to be accomplished listed down, as well as individuals required to perform those tasks. So you make a list of all the tasks that you need to do, all the activities that you need to do. So once you have all those lists of all those activities that you need to achieve, then you can assign individuals that are going to perform those tasks. You can also review those tasks once in a while so that they can accommodate change. Remember, what you come up with is not the final. Sometimes you can review and be in a position to understand what needs to be changed and at what time. So the second step normally is the departmentalization stage. Departmentalization stage involves grouping those activities. So you are looking at activities that seem to be similar, and you are grouping those activities where you feel that these activities should be in this area, these activities should be in the other area, so that once you come up with those activities, you can easily organize them in different departments. For example, you can look at what structure is good for you. You can either organize it in a functional way, or depending on what you do, you can organize them in geographical or product or even customer kind of department. Then number 3 is delegation. Delegation is where managers normally assign responsibilities either to a group of individuals, to a group of people, or an individual. So sometimes you can get the privilege where a manager decides to give you a particular task. But if the intention is not to work as a manager, sometimes it is always important to, some managers might take advantage. Yes, they are giving you, or they are delegating some responsibilities to you, but their focus is to make sure that you don't have time even for your personal development. Wengine wanangoja 5 ikifika hivi 450 anakuletea kazi, nakwambia sasa wewe hebu angalia hiyo ndio at least ukae. So ikifika 5 man, enda home bwana, mwambie utafanya kesho. Then step 4, span of control. So when you look at some of those individuals or the groups that you're supposed to assign those tasks, the span of control will help you to understand who is supposed to report to you and how many people are supposed to report to you. So authority is very important for managers. So the span of control plays a very critical role so that you know what you're supposed to, the feedback that you're supposed to get, and who is supposed to report to you. Then step 5 is the chain of command. And chain of command normally defines organizational relationships by use of a diagram, normally referred to as an organogram. So an organogram is just, in simple terms, it is a diagram that is going to help you to understand in simple terms the structure of that particular organization. And once you look at the organogram, then you can easily establish who is supposed to report to who and the different activities that they need to do. Step 6 is designing a hierarchy of organizational relationship. Once you have the diagram, then it is easier to design the hierarchy. So the hierarchy, basically, you will look at the jobs, the activities that you need to do, and we're supposed to report to who, both the vertical kind of reporting and the horizontal kind of relationship. And when we talk about horizontal, we are talking about people who are at the same level in the organization. For example, you could be a finance officer on the other hand, then you are all finance officers. So you might say that horizontally, you relate horizontally. Or let me use the example of human resource. So you can be in human resource training. Another person could be in human resource talent acquisition. Another one can be in human resource welfare, where they're dealing with the welfares of employees. Another one can be in human resource recruitment. Another one can be in human resource, let's say, the staffing. So they're the ones who know who is supposed to be where and at what time. So when you look at that, you might find that all those people are in the same level horizontally in the organization. Yes. Any question? Any question? We have Ogayo.
Yes, teacher.
Swali.
Sina swali teacher.
Esta wa Irimo.
Yes.
Any question?
No, not at the moment.
So I'm going to ask you a question, and you will get the opportunity to discuss the question so that I'm going to hear your feedbacks before I present the next, before I share the next slide. Yes, yes. So the question is, just a minute. I'm trying to look at a Word document. What are you seeing on your screen?
Designing a hierarchy of organization relationship, further
On the
reading.
further reading.
Or further reading? Sorry, I
Mm.
didn't. Let me remove it so that you can. So the question is, can organization be used as a strategic tool? Organizing tool in organizations. Discuss. So
Teacher,
yes.
Zoom there or whatever.
Yeah, I'll zoom. Just a minute. Just a minute. So I'm going to put you in groups. Just a minute. So you'll be in groups of breakout rooms. So you are 33 in groups of 1, 2, 3, 4, groups of 6. 5. Yes, sign. So so you can discuss. So in your groups, I've organized the groups, so you can discuss. Hope you can be able to see your group. You can join your groups and discuss. Can join your groups and discuss. Can join your groups and discuss. Juhi, Lucy, you've not joined your group. Purity, not assigned. So Purity, you can join, assign room 3. So you are in room 3. Lucy has not joined. George Musyoka not joined. Pius Onetswe.
Angeline,
Can we go on with the discussion?
yes, we can.
Everyone is quiet.
I think, what was the question? Can organizing be used as a strategic tool in an organization? Yes, it can be used as a strategic tool in an organization because it's just
Strategic tool in organizations. So when you look at organizing, the main focus of organizing is to be able to bring resources. And once you bring resources to the organization, then the second important thing you need to do is to ensure that you utilize those resources. So resources, remember, are normally classified in 3 ways. We have the physical resources, we have the human capital, and we have the financial resource. So when we talk about physical resource, we can look at an example where we have technology in place. So organizations can use technology. Remember, technology is an emerging issue. So they can use technology as a strategic tool. And this will catapult that organization into greater heights. When you look at human capital, organizations can use the people who are working in that particular firm to be able to work to ensure that they become competitive in the competitive work environment. So people can also be used strategically to ensure success of the organization strategically. Then obviously we have the financial aspect. When an organization has money, they can be able to allocate this money into areas that they feel when they capitalize their money in that area, then they can become better. Look at a company like Safaricom. They have been able to lead in the industry for more than 18 years now. And one of the reasons as to why Safaricom is successful is because of the financial resource that they have. So when we use all these resources, then we can simply say that organizing is a strategic tool in organizations. So that is my parting shot. Maybe if there's any question or comment, then the floor is yours. So the other thing maybe I can say for those who are, this is their first time to join the class, you can get the videos in my wall, that is my YouTube channel. So once I finish, I normally upload, and I also share the links on the groups. So don't worry, you've not lost anything. You'll still get the video. The event you hear the video and you feel there's something that you didn't get well, then you can always ask me. My number is 0728410616. So if there's no question, I wish to stop there. See you next week, same time, same place, and enjoy.
Teacher, you'll also send the notes.
I already shared the notes. You are not in any.
No, it's Frido is asking for today's lessons.
Yeah, I shared in the morning. After it was yesterday.
We got the notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.